Hello, I'm Beau.
And I'm Aaron.
And this is the 7th episode of Azure Ages. Refer to earlier episodes for the show's premise. I am currently sick of repeating it. We'll go back to it. But suffice to say, we're going to talk about great games of the past.
Yeah.
And today's great game, this is going to be one of the few episodes where we do this, but this is actually a game that Aaron has played a lot of that I have literally played next to none of. I don't know much about this game, but we're going to be talking about Sunstriders.
Yeah.
Which was a Konami classic.
Yes.
Now, go ahead, pause this podcast wherever you're enjoying it, and go ahead and get all the "but Konami only makes pachinko machines" out of your system. Just we'll you know what? Don't even pause it. We'll wait.
Yeah.
We'll give you a few seconds.
You good now?
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah, can't stand it. Can't stand it. Every time you want to talk about classic Konami or anything, they still bring up the like, we get it. They make pachinko machines now. That's what they do. You're not going to change it by making jokes on the internet.
It's fine.
Move on.
Yeah,
Move on. Kojima doesn't work there anymore, so who cares?
Yeah, literally, who cares? Like, he has his own company. I'll go there.
Sunstriders was 1993, I think, from what I read.
92.
92?
Yeah, for the arcade.
Okay, so
and the Sega, the Master Drive / Genesis copy.
Yeah,
the SNES came out in 93.
So the SNES came out in 93, but it was originally in 92. It was originally an arcade machine, and it got console ports. Console ports being, I think, because you were texting me about how much you love the arcade version.
Yeah.
And you were like, these console versions are nowhere near it, and I made the comment that console really never matched arcade until the Dreamcast. That was the huge deal of the Dreamcast.
Yeah.
It had one-for-one ports of arcade games. But
the console versions in this one were so crazy, and they were so crazy different between each other too.
And that's very interesting to know.
Yeah.
So Sunstriders takes place in what I assume the Japanese thought of modern-day Texas.
Yeah, basically.
Like,
it's very much an idealized outsider's view of the American Wild West. But in a lot of ways, though, it really feels almost like it's a Wild West movie from the 60s. Because, like, the characters you play as are dressed in these bright costumes.
And their names are like Steve and Billy.
There's Steve, Billy, and then two other dudes. Unless you're playing the Genesis version, in which case you only get two dudes.
Steve and Billy.
You get Steve, who's the blue guy, and then you get I'm blanking on his freaking name. So Steve and like Billy are
It's like cowboys.
Cowboys, and they got their 6-shooters.
They're dressed like classic cowboys. They got 6 shooters. One's blue, one's red.
Yeah. And then the other ones is so Steve is yellow, Billy's blue, Bob is in green.
Oh, there was no red, was there?
Well, there is. Cormando is in red / pink.
Oh yeah.
Billy and Steve have 6-shooters, classic cowboys. Bob and Cormando have scatterguns, shotguns.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Unless you're playing the Sega version. The Master Drive / Genesis, and in that case, you get Billy or Cormando. Those are your only options. Why they went with those two, I have no idea.
You said Billy was blue?
Yes, Billy is in blue, Steve is in yellow, Bob is in green.
Billy makes sense because blue is sort of Sega's corporate color, so
yeah,
that makes sense. This game is, from what little I played of it, what I remember is it's lightning. It's kind of like a mix between Streets of Rage and Contra.
Yes,
from what I remember.
Yes,
it's very much like Contra. In fact, that one shot will kill you.
Yes, yeah. If you get hit, you're dead. Period.
Yep.
And for every enemy outside of a boss, that's true as well. One shot will kill them. But yeah, it's very Streets of Rage in terms of you like walk forward, and then the enemies pop up, and then eventually you go forward kind of deal. However, it's also very much Contra because it's got that like bullet hail thing going on. Yeah, yes, where you gotta be moving.
And there's a lot of ducking, jumping.
Yes, you can even slide in it, which was really weird.
Yes.
You could there
are doors you can go into, and I don't understand what they do. Sometimes you come out with a power up. Sometimes you come out, there's like a gal kissing on you.
So
and it's very heavily implied that you just hired a prostitute.
Yeah, depending on which version of the game. That's another fun thing.
much to my shame, the only version of the game I've ever played is the SNES.
Yeah.
I wish to God I played
the SNES is the most heavily edited in terms of making it more like considerate to non-cowboys, I guess, like what some people would call PC.
Yes.
So like in the SNES version, if you go into one of those doors, you'll come back out and there'll just be a woman in typical Old West dress, and she'll like give you a hug, and then you'll get a gun upgrade, right? In the Sega version, same thing. Only she's dressed a little bit more provocatively. She's dressed more like what an Old West provocative dress would be, right? In the arcade version, one of two things will happen. You'll run in the door and you'll come out and either chug an entire bottle of whiskey and smash it on the ground and get your power upgrade, or you'll run in and you'll come out and it'll be the girl who'll give you a kiss. Your guy will blatantly blush and then adjust his hat and then go off with your upgrade. And the girl will be dressed as like a saloon dancer, like a can-can dancer. Like they changed. So really quick on like changes they made. Sega took out like 2 or 3 bosses to kind of like,
two characters.
Yeah, and 2 characters. The SNES left in all the characters. It looks more accurate to the arcade version in terms of graphics.
It's still nowhere near as good.
No, they still took out a character, a boss, and they renamed a bunch of them because some of the boss names are a little on the insensitive side. One of the bosses
really?
One of the bosses is a Native American person. A Native American, like we're given the 1990s version of a Native American chief, right? And in the arcade version, there's an entire stage where you're fighting Native Americans through the mountains. The way they're drawn, arguably racist.
Well, that's the thing about arguably racist. If it's arguably racist,
it's racist.
It's racist.
The most blatant thing, though, that is an insensitive thing in this game, and it is definitely a product of its times in this regard, is the boss Native American guy you have to fight. His name is Chief Scalpum.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah. And he talks in very broken English.
The firewater
knees instead of eyes and stuff like that. Yeah. But what's funny though is like that's literally the only part in the. I mean, I guess technically it's a little bit insensitive towards like Hispanic people as well, because like one of the guys is like very blatantly supposed to be like stereotypically like Hispanic or whatever.
Yeah.
But like it's not as blatant.
He's one of the good guys.
Yeah.
You play as him.
But no, putting that aside, what's nice though is like there's never any like your characters that you play as don't do anything bad. They just do their mission. That's the good thing.
I'm just here to do my job.
You do not have to justify your character.
Right. Like, because it's an arcade game.
Yes. Like, heck, when you defeat the Native American chief, his sister runs out. And she's like, no, don't hurt him. This is only in the arcade version, as far as I know. And she's like, don't hurt him. He was just following orders because he's working for the actual bad guy.
Right.
And the cowboy is just like, all right, I'm leaving. And he's just like, that's cool. And like adjusts his hat and leaves. And it's nothing bad there. But anyway, putting all that crap aside.
Yeah.
Putting that aside. Like other little changes in the arcade version, all 3 versions have bad guys who will throw a stick of dynamite at you.
Yes.
In the arcade version, they're chicks. They'll try and seduce you to get close to you, and then when you get close, they fucking just throw dynamite at your face.
I think what you're trying to say is there's like a animation suggesting they're doing that, because I like saying that they try to seduce you implies that like there's players out there that are like, all right, maybe this time I'm gonna see some boobs
in 1992. I mean, I'm sure there was some guy who was an arcade shark.
He's like,
again, she got me again. But no, those are your most blatant differences. Oh God, it's like, okay, so I played all 3 versions, and all 3 of them are fun. Like the Sega version is the worst version, hands down.
It pains me to say it, but I do agree with you.
I love Genesis. I love Genesis, but it is awful. It is an awful port. The SNES one is good for a console port. The changes in it, fine, whatever. However, one thing I have to say, after playing it on arcade, playing the arcade version of it. Oh, is it different? It's a different game. It feels different. It moves different. And it's like, okay, so I legitimately felt like the arcade rush playing that.
Yeah, so that's
like
something we actually have
old feel of it.
Right.
Of old games. Like, because like one thing, like, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of behind the scenes. Azure Ages was Beau's idea. And I went into it because I was like, this sounds freaking awesome. But it was Beau's idea. He came up with it. Beau has always been more passionate than I when it comes to the feel and the love and the appreciation of what older games gave us versus what new games can give us. It's something that I enjoy and I agree with, but like I'm not as passionate, like blatantly as passionate about as Beau is.
I'm worried we're going to lose it if we don't do more to preserve it.
Yeah. And I gotta tell you, like when I played the arcade version of this game, even though this is not my favorite arcade game I've ever played, like, and I bet you there's arcade games out there that would, you know, like that are more meaningful to me in terms of my memories. The freaking tie-in to the point hit me so hard. It is a different world, and you have to go out and like arcade games are kind of the physical embodiment of this. You can get it with old games or older console games easily, like any of the ones we've talked about so far. And you don't even have to go that far back. Sonic Adventure 2 is a great example.
Right.
Or just, you know, like you don't even have to go that far back, but if you get the chance, dig up an arcade machine, a real arcade machine. Not I don't care what you gotta do, but get a real arcade machine and play that bad boy. It is a different world.
There's just
it is a different kind of fun. It is a different kind of fun than what you will find on your $600 like Xbox 12-Z2B whatever edition, right? Or your PS5.
I want a 2B version of the Xbox.
I mean, I would not say I'm a sucker.
2B.
I'm a sucker. I am a sucker for collector's editions. That's why I have the Death Stranding PS4. I've got the Smash Brothers Switch. I've got the Taco Bell Xbox Fight Me.
You won that, didn't you?
I did not win it in a contest. However, I did steal that mofo off of freaking eBay. Those things were going for like $1,400 when I was on eBay. I sniped this one auction, got it for barely above retail.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, that guy hates me.
So there's not only you can speak a lot about the physical aspects of playing an arcade game, but I don't want to harp too much on the physical aspects because there's just a difference in the game itself.
Yeah, that's what I'm meaning more than anything.
In what you're doing in this game, like arcades were just technologically superior enough over the home console version that it made a huge difference. Like,
it may not look like it now, but like it was a different world.
It wasn't like when you went to an arcade, it wasn't like I got these games at home.
Yeah.
You know, it was like I get to play the real game the way the developer intended it.
Or it was just you got to play that game because it hadn't been ported over.
A few games that come to mind that just absolutely blew the arcade versions out of the water. First and foremost, House of the Dead.
Oh, easily.
House of the Dead.
Any light gun. Anything with a light gun.
Time Crisis.
Oh my god.
Any racing game.
Yes.
Any racing game.
Because like you had an actual sim basically.
Yep. You got to sit in especially a motorcycle one because Hang On in the 80s. After Yu Suzuki's brilliant game, Hang On, motorcycle games in arcades, you actually lean back and forth.
Those are some of the most fun ones.
Oh my god! And
the boating ones, I'm not even into boats, but the ones that are boats.
You can find arcades, and there's a lot of arcades out there that are family friendly. You go in, and those are my favorite. I like barcades, but at the same time I don't. Yeah. Because I feel like if you're... I am all about preservation of these things. And preservation doesn't mean very much if you're not allowed to have youth around them. It's literally nothing.
Because like you and I already remember it.
And also, the first thing I think of when I think of a barcade is I think of some dumbass spilling his Kentucky Mule on one of these precious machines. It's the first thing I think of. It's stupid. And like, Another thing is I don't want to listen to loud music and go and buy overpriced drinks and stuff like that. I just want to play these, because I feel like a barcade is something where it's like, yeah, man, you can go out and your friends are having a good time because you're at a bar and you can go play arcade games. But I feel like it's one of those things like, hey, man, you're going to play that game all night or you're going to come hang out? Like, no.
Come over to the sports bar corner.
Like, I want to just play the goddamn video game. That's the whole point to an arcade. But Sunset Riders specifically, God, I wish I could find an arcade.
I know.
I wish I could find it. But and this run and gun style really matches up to an arcade. Because you talked about the arcade rush. I love that you use that term.
Yeah.
Because that's something that I think, because if you play the SNES version, it is sluggish.
It really is.
It's the better version, but it's sluggish.
And I never considered it. Like when, especially as a kid, I didn't know jack.
You wouldn't know.
I didn't even think about it now. I was just like, yep, this is how this game plays. La la la. This is what we do. No, it's different.
It's molasses.
Yes, everything of it was.
That's
but it was
even home versions of Pac-Man. Even Pac-Man wasn't as good. One of the simplest games you could think of. It wasn't as good on home consoles.
Well, heck, I bet you could go even further back and say the same thing about like Space Invaders.
Yeah, I bet
an arcade of Space Invader was way what was the other one? Not Space.
Galaga was a big one.
Yeah, that's it.
Donkey Kong, of course.
Yeah.
Punch Out wasn't as good as on home console as it was in arcades.
I remember. I loved Punch Out on NES, but boy, was it not fun sometimes.
So I feel like we're going to get a lot of guff when people catch on to us and they watch the Star Fox episode. I feel Ripley just came in here, like looked around, looked at me and Aaron, looking into microphones. It was like, I absolutely don't. Ripley was my young daughter, and she just gave me this look of like, I've never seen this before. I don't know what's going on. I want nothing to do with it. I'm leaving. And when you're done with whatever this is, that's when I'll come back up here. So I feel like we're getting a lot of guff over me just ripping into Star Fox, but it wasn't. It was a good example of a game that tried too hard too soon, and that's what a lot of arcade ports did back then. Star Fox wasn't an arcade port, but that's what I'm saying. Yeah. It's that similar feel. Like,
can you imagine what it would have been like if it was an arcade?
The Genesis version of Sunset Riders probably just should not have happened.
I would agree 100%.
They probably just shouldn't have done that.
No, yeah, I totally agree, because it was butchered, which is weird.
Imagine, like, they're like, okay, so Nirvana, we're putting out your legendary record, never mind. We're gonna put this out, and we're gonna have the record, we're gonna have the CD for the 5 people in 1991 that have a CD player, but we're gonna have a cassette too.
A laser disc.
But the cassette's only gonna have 4 songs.
Yeah.
And we're gonna have to cut the drums out entirely. So it's just,
we're gonna remove the one part of your band that is any good.
Would you stop?
Nope. Taking it to my grave. Nirvana was not good.
They were, an entire musical movement would disagree with you, but
I know I'm wrong. I'm standing by my opinion. But Dave Grohl is the only part of that band that was good. I said it.
But yeah, it's basically that premise. It's like we're gonna suck all the charm out just to release this game,
just to get it out there.
And that happens so much with arcade ports.
And you know what's really weird too, especially in this particular situation, is it wasn't like they were trying to like keep up with Nintendo on this one, or they were trying to rush. Well, heck, maybe that is what they were doing. They were trying to rush a game out before Nintendo got it.
Nintendo doesn't even make these kind of games.
No.
Never has, never will.
And like Nintendo didn't port it out until literally the next year. So
the SNES port took the longest, and I wonder if that's why they took did they take their time, or
because the arcade was in 91, Mega Drive Genesis was 92, and then the SNES was in 93. So like
now Konami was famously more, they really preferred the Super. So if you go back and look, a lot of people nowadays, like, and we've discussed this on the show before, we're going to talk a lot about the console wars just because a lot of these games we talk about are probably going to be the 16-bit era.
Yeah, and they were in it. So.
But a lot of people talk about which system was better design on. But if you go back and read developer interviews, the answer is whichever one the developer wanted.
Yeah.
Depending on what the developer wanted for their game. Sometimes it wasn't their choice. The company was just like, you're putting it on this system. That's all there is to it. But whatever the developer wanted was the better one. And one of the best ones I can think of is when Treasure broke off from, I believe, Konami. I believe they broke off from Konami. When the Treasure broke off, they went full Genesis because they loved the Genesis.
Yeah.
The stuff they wanted to put in their games was only capable on the Genesis. But Konami, they really liked all those colors and stuff, and the sound of the Super Nintendo. And everyone always wants to argue, was the SNES or the Genesis' sound better? I really think that is apples to oranges to me.
Yeah,
it's
different.
Two
it's
different
totally
sounds.
different.
Like Genesis has a really synth wavy, very and I love the sound of it. But Super Nintendo has a very more traditional video game music-y sound.
One thing I wanted to let you know, I think you might get a kick out of this because I know you've played both these games. So when I played through Sunset Riders on SNES now versus when I was a kid.
That's the only version I played, by the way, if I haven't made that clear.
There's another game I own that I almost know for a fact you had to have played at some point when you visited my house when we were kids. Do you remember Lethal Enforcers?
Yes, Lethal Enforcers.
With the light gun.
You had the
with the revolver.
The revolver light gun.
Yes. Sunset Riders on SNES uses the exact same sounds as Lethal Enforcers.
Does it?
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
They literally, I don't know, I'm going to check right now.
Yeah.
One of those games borrowed the sound from the other one.
So, light gun games. We got to cover some light gun games. That's something a lot of, like, there are grown adults that probably don't remember light gun games.
And they are, oh my God, like one thing, so like
it's pure video game.
It is
pure video game.
And I do a lot of emulation, mainly because I have to.
He's joking, Nintendo.
Yeah,
by the
I'm
way.
joking. Well, I don't emulate Nintendo games. Nintendo is very particular about that.
Nintendo will ruin people's lives over emulation because they want to make damn sure that no one preserves their history. So
with Nintendo games, so I still own every game that I have.
Yes.
So the only problem is I don't have a freaking CRT or CTR. I don't have an old TV anymore. I have a 4K TV that does not work.
Does not
with
have
light guns.
AV inputs. Yeah.
And light guns literally don't work on LEDs. Fun fact.
Right, they don't. Yeah.
So side note, Lethal Enforcers hit the Super Nintendo in '94. So Sunset Riders had the sounds first, and they put the Sunset Rider sounds into Lethal Enforcers. Lethal Enforcers, God, that's such a 90s game that could not be made today. You're literally just a cop blowing the hell out of criminals.
That's the thing, like with
and they are some mega criminals too.
What's funny is Virtua Cop, the Sega one, the Sega light gun game, when it was taken to Germany, they literally like took the cop out of it.
Yeah.
It's called Virtua Squad or something.
Yeah,
and they literally like changed the visuals of the game to where you're not a cop anymore. And that's just such a like you just said now. And like and by the way, we're making a joke about this, but I completely understand why people wouldn't want a video game where you play as a cop shooting. Like
it makes total sense.
It is 100% reasonable, and I am fully behind it.
Especially in that one.
We're just saying it's a huge difference back then.
Yes.
We didn't even think anything of it.
No.
We were just like, we're a cop and these are the bad guys.
Yeah.
And we're just going to extrajudicially murder them.
Yes, because and it starts off normal. You know, like, oh, these guys are robbing a bank. They're pointing a gun at me. I gotta shoot them first. And then before you know it, you're driving down the highway and there's a guy in the back of a truck with a bazooka. And you're just doing your fan spraying your freaking ammo into this dude. Like,
and so it's a very
and it was like I don't know what it's called off the top of my head, but it was like real people images.
Yes.
It wasn't graphic. They did the same thing Mortal Kombat did, where they took actual people who did the mocap.
Would be in very poor taste nowadays.
Oh,
it was in poor taste then. We just didn't realize.
We didn't realize it was poor taste. Yeah.
So, but back to the game we're tentatively talking about, Sunset Riders,
which is still about shooting people. So we're on topic.
Yeah. But Sunset Riders are cowboys, so they were dumb.
Yeah.
So
they're bounty hunters too.
They're bounty.
That's like the whole point of the game is you're collecting.
And apparently,
bounties.
everyone in these towns is a bounty.
Yeah.
Sunset Riders, it's I know we've barely talked about the game, but that's because like it's such a good example of what we're talking about on the show as a whole that it kind of just lends itself to that conversation, I think.
Yeah, I agree. And like honestly, like if you play the game or if you have played the game, Sunset Riders, there isn't a ton to it. Like I beat the arcade version of it in maybe 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I could not do that on the consoles. The consoles kicked my butt. In theory, though, it probably would have taken a shorter time because they had bosses removed. But it's not the game itself. It's the concept and the feel that it gave.
The arcade rush.
Yes. And that's the only way to put it.
Frantic gameplay.
Yes.
Frantic, absolute, like edge your seat, like.
And especially when you know you're on your last quarter.
And I hear a lot of people nowadays that didn't experience the arcade that say what they don't like about it is that you can't sit down. And what I always counter with that is, first off, that look that Aaron just gave me. It's like, come on, man.
It's like, really?
But I would counter that with saying that when you're playing an arcade game, you won't be sitting down.
Why don't you pull your big boy britches up and get serious about this match? Tekken.
Exactly. No, like like arcade is because there's always the fact that you had to pay money to each play. Just it's so like
if you went to an arcade. Okay, so I'm gonna give you guys all a little quick journey in time back when Beau and I were mere children. If you walked into your local arcade and you were perusing, you got your quarters, you got your $5 in quarters, $10 if you're cool and your parents loved you, and you're walking around. If you go to an arcade machine and someone has pulled up a stool to that machine, there's only two things that are going to happen. Either A, he's not going to let anyone play that game because he's playing it, and he's refusing to let anyone else use any of their coin slots and join in because he's trying to high score it or whatever nonsense.
Right.
Or it's going to be a fighting game, and you just don't want to play with that guy because he's going to destroy everything.
If he's sitting down, he's there for the long haul.
He's been there all day, scamming children out of their quarters, right? Getting an extra $6 in quarters, which in 1993 money was like $1 million, right? And he got to live with that badge of honor of making a child cry because he just beat them up in Tekken. Don't be that guy. Stand up.
Right.
Be proud of playing that arcade machine. Be proud of your sticky joystick and one button that you have to hit really hard a couple times. That way it breaks loose again and you can use it.
I guess in closing, what I'm trying to say is go find an arcade, man.
Seriously.
Go find an arcade. If my recommendation, three ways you can play this game. There was a Genesis version, an SNES version, and an arcade version.
Yep.
Don't play anything but the arcade version.
Yeah, it's way different on that. And like, this is a great example. This is the mission statement hit me. That's all I can say. The mission statement hit me.
I'm glad. I'm very glad.
Modern games are wonderful. They do things that you and I, when we were children, did not imagine were possible. They're
beautiful.
amazing.
They're beautiful. Yeah.
There is just something
Yes.
about walking up to a game. Maybe it's at home, maybe it's at an arcade. You pick up your controller, you pop your quarter in, whatever the case, you start, and it is just this fast-paced, beating dudes up or racing a car, and there's these bright colors, and it's just a different kind of game. It's different, and you need to experience it for one, to preserve it and to understand where gaming came from.
Yes.
So that when you go
absolutely.
and play Forza Horizon 6, you understand how it got to that point. But also, it's just different.
Yes, it absolutely is. And guys, I think that's a great place to end this episode.
Yeah.
Go. Even if it's not Sunset Riders, just go play some arcade games.
Yeah.
Go play some arcade games. You won't regret it. If you have friends with you, all the better. Even if you're alone,
better.
You'll probably make friends.
Yeah, definitely.
So, guys, hit up the socials. Hit up those links down there at the bottom. Join us on Discord. And if you pop into the Discord, actually join us on Discord.
Yeah.
We're always happy to see you join no matter what. But, actually engage us and
stuff. Yeah, talk to us.
It's a lot of fun. Guys,
tell us about your guilty pleasure game.
Ooh, that would be a good topic of discussion. Yeah, guilty pleasure game. What game are you embarrassed that you like, but you like?
Yep.
So, guys, until next time, stay safe.
Stay frosty.
Stay. Oh, that's such a better. Stay frosty.
Stay frosty and get those quarters.
Later, guys.
Bye, guys.